What's going on, guys? Before we get into the video, I wanted to thank you guys once again for the amazing support. I am blown away by you guys. I never thought that we would even hit 1,000 subscribers on this channel, and we've just completely moved past that. So thank you. I wanted to remind everyone, January 23rd, we are doing a watch-along live right here on the W.A.D.E Concept. You guys get in the chat. We're going to be watching Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. You guys know Conor McGregor is my favorite fighter. Dustin Poirier is one of my favorites. That card's going to be stacked. It's a pretty fun time. It's the way this channel started, and it's my way to give back. So be here, January 23rd, 4 p.m. PST. We're going to have a good time. Let's get into the video. All right, so Saturday we had UFC Fight Night in Las Vegas, the last card of the year for the UFC. And we have some fun stuff coming up toward the end of the year on this channel. That'll be a Fight of the Year video, Fighter of the Year video, and a YouTube Boxer of the Year video. All that stuff coming out next week. But today we're here to talk about this card. Saturday night, UFC Fight Night, Las Vegas. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Jeff Neal in the main event, and that's where we're going to start. And you guys know I'm not always perfect. If I get it wrong, I'm usually close to right, and I just, I miss a couple of points there. And I got to admit, I was completely wrong in picking this main event. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson comes out, 37 years old, by the way. Don't know if you guys remember, 37, and just tunes up Jeff Neal to a degree that I haven't seen and didn't think that Jeff Neal would be tuned up by. Now listen, before I start going off and saying how good Stephen Wonderboy Thompson looked, we do have to mention there were some very, very alarming things happening to Jeff Neal leading up to this fight, things that would have had an effect on anybody. I mean, you're talking about a guy that had congestive heart failure, I don't know, it was within a couple of months of the fight. You had 3 cornermen test positive for COVID. Immediately at the end of the first round, his entire right eye, the headbutt that both guys unfortunately suffered a little bit from, but Jeff Neal gets it above the right eye, and he basically can't see for the next 4 rounds. And against a guy like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, who was going to throw everything and the kitchen sink at you, you need every bit of vision you can get because he's moving around, he's hitting you from different angles, he's switching stances, he's throwing hook kicks, he's throwing jabs up the middle. So you have to give it up for Jeff Neal to be able to even step in and go 5 rounds with Wonderboy. Including the fact that his entire corner couldn't be there. All 3 cornermen, COVID. So, obviously, things working against Jeff Neal there. He still shows up, still performs, I thought, admirably. Just couldn't get it going. Just really could not get it going against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And this is the problem when you fight a guy like Wonderboy, is that he is so hard to hit. You can track him, you can cut the cage off, you can find ways to get him on the fence, but he's still so damn elusive. And again, he was to Jeff Neal. Even in the first round, before the headbutt, you saw Wonderboy tagging, switching stances, standing there, basically squared up, hands straight down. Everything that you would say is wrong with anybody trying to fight. Squared up, back on the fence, hands straight down, and he's making Jeff miss. He's making him miss and countering with a 1-2, or he's countering with a shot to the body, getting out, controlling that distance, finding a way to get off the cage, then spinning back kick to the body, or a wheel kick, or an axe kick. He's throwing everything, and it's landing. From round 1 to round 5, Wonderboy kept a consistent pace, which is ridiculous for how much he moves. He's always bouncing on the balls of his feet. He's, like I said, shifting stances. He's sliding away. He'll throw a couple shots, get out of range, and slide around the canvas. So he is doing things that would tire most men. I mean, if I tried to get in a ring and fight in general, your boy's gassing in about 3 minutes. But imagine Stephen Wonderboy Thompson always moving. He's not really ever standing still. If he is, his back's on the cage and he's still feinting and he's slipping and moving. So for him to keep that pace over 5 rounds at 37 years old against a guy like Jeff Neal, he was moving forward the entire fight, trying to find ways to get inside on Wonderboy, trying to find ways to just keep him in one area. There was a couple of times where Jeff Neal did a good job grappling with Stephen and good head position, and he had him against the cage, but even there, he really couldn't do anything. He was trying to implement the Kamaru Usman foot stomps. Nothing was really going for Jeff Neal. Now, he landed a couple of good shots. He landed a couple of good left hands, some kicks to the body, but he just could not put it together in a consistent form. I thought Wonderboy won rounds 1 through 5. I don't want to say it was a complete domination, but it was a very smooth victory for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He did what he does. He comes out and he hits you and he doesn't get hit. It's not necessarily the most power you've ever seen, but he replaces that with technique, timing, and skill. And then you got to think, what's next for both guys? We always ask this question directly after a great performance without sometimes appreciating that performance. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson had a flawless performance here. Other than the headbutt in the first round. I thought he looked very smooth the entire rest of the fight. It's so hard to prepare for this guy. DC had a great line in this fight, too. He said, Your training partners are your training partners. They're not the guy you're about to fight. They're not your opponent. And obviously what he means by that is you can bring in guys to mimic the style of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I think Jeff Neal had Uriah Hall, maybe not in camp, but he had sparred against him. He had been a part of a camp with Uriah Hall. He sparred against a lot of guys that are high-level kickboxers, high-level Muay Thai fighters, high-level Taekwondo fighters, but you just can't prepare for a guy like Stephen Thompson because really no one fights like him. And even on the night, you don't realize it until you get in there and you see him start to move around the way he does. You see him start to throw shots the way he does. He doesn't necessarily have a pattern. He doesn't have something that you can just lock onto and say, okay, this is what he's doing. He's throwing this, and this comes behind it. It's hard to do because he's constantly switching stances. He's constantly mixing it up. So he's just a very difficult opponent to game plan for. But the question remains, what's next for both guys? For Jeff Neal, listen, he's still right there. He just went 5 rounds with Stephen Thompson, who is, again, top 5 before this fight, probably top 4, top 5 after. I mean, he could easily contend for a title. So for Jeff Neal, I think he's right there still at top 10, top 15 range, and a couple of wins would have him right back in that discussions. Maybe you have a guy in Jeff Neal fighting a guy like Michael Chiesa, Neil Magny, who doesn't have an opponent at the moment. Tyron Woodley is there as well, possibly Anthony Pettis if he does. I know he said he's going to 155, but if he does stay at 170, all those fights make sense. Vicente Luque, a guy that also put up a pretty good fight against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, stayed in there. So I could definitely see him fighting a couple of those guys. You know, again, with a win, he's right back in that top 10 conversation. And for Wonderboy, obviously the win puts him, again, solidifies him in the top 5. He has guys like he could do the rematch with Jorge Masvidal. We've seen that Jorge wants that fight, thinks that he didn't perform to his best ability. Wonderboy says, I welcome that. That's another former title contender. You get that win under your belt, and again, you're right there in that top 3, top 4 range, and you're solidifying that title opportunity for your next fight. I got to say, for this guy, age just seems like a number. He keeps finding ways to impress us time after time. I watch him, and it's like art when he fights. He's moving like poetry in motion. I don't even do it justice when I describe it, so imagine trying to stand in front of it and fight it. Wonderboy Thompson continues to revolutionize the game, and at 37 years old, the question that we had was, does Wonderboy still have it? Are his reflexes still there? Is his body starting to betray him? Can he still put things together and move the way he always has? The nicest MFer in the game probably gave us the most polite answer in the world, and that is, heck yeah, he does. Wonderboy with a great victory. I cannot wait to see what's next.